But first, would you rather the Tories were in charge? I can't wait to hear Jemma's answers on this one. 020 7862 2222 is the number to get in touch. More than 2 million people have now signed a petition to say they want another election. There it is, because they believe Labour has already broken the promises they set out in the run-up to the general election, which was less than 5 months ago. Keir Starmer says he's not surprised by the petition, but there won't be a rerun because that's not how our system works. But a recent poll says 2/3 of Brits feel worse off since Labour won their landslide. What has been going wrong for Labour? Let's just have a little look here. And let's ask ourselves, here's Keir Starmer in the washing machine. Let's ask ourselves, why is Starmer getting rinsed? Because it really feels like he's tumbling at the moment. He's got all these other items which are giving him a spin. He probably didn't expect to be like this, did he? But this is politics. This is politics in the modern age. There he is, in there. Let's have a look and see if we can identify some of the things that are causing him all this bother. Right, so, Keir Starmer. He won the election and suddenly the roof caved in and the waters rose. And actually, amazingly, the Conservatives are polling, or Kemi Badenoch seems to be polling better than him for some reason. Firstly, obviously, winter fuel, cutting the payment to pensioners, that was one thing. Secondly, VAT on schools, private schools, has caused a particular constituency to be cross. The farm tax, never make the farmers angry. That's the lesson there. Then we've got the employer tax, which is the national insurance contributions, the employer contributions. They don't like helping Kamala Harris, which annoyed Trump, having people go off even if they were just doing it individually. And that says EU, because getting closer to the EU may cause some voters to be upset. There they all are. 6 things you might have, and he's spinning. He's on a spin. And it's quite a fast old spin cycle. That's politics though, Jemma, isn't it?
Yeah. Trouble is, right, this petition, what really annoys me about it, and I just think, right, everybody's entitled to write a petition, everybody's entitled to express, but obviously everybody who signed it would be people that hadn't voted for him in the first place, I would imagine, and
would
maybe
they?
A few. Well, it's 2 million people. Can I just say that a massive proportion of them are bots in foreign countries like, I mean, you can see it's all over the internet in sort of, OK, hang on, let's give you some facts here. So 0.13% of the entire population of Vatican City want a general election in the UK.
Well, Michael Caine is not a bot.
No. Of course not. Of course some real people have signed it. But what I'm saying is this is a petition that was amplified by Elon Musk, who's got nothing to do with us. I'm sorry, he's a sort of...
Musk has gone in a funny one about Britain at the moment.
He's got 200 million Twitter followers. He has amplified it, along with a documentary about Tommy Robinson. And the fact that Brexiteers, who basically wanted to Brexit so we could be sovereign, so we could take control, so that we wouldn't have unelected bureaucrats and sort of, you know, foreigners interviewing our decision-making process, are all right for this sort of mad billionaire to be putting it out, and there are bots on it. There were actually five people in places that are uninhabited. British Antarctic, South Georgia, and the South Sandwich Islands. There's lists of them, so we don't know the true numbers. And 6 million people signed a petition to revoke Brexit.
But
Did we ever do a debate
we've got at the front of the studio, we've got the Tory team are waiting. Jeff, I want you... So, at the front of the studio, you've got pictures of the Tory team in waiting. And my goodness, Kemi and her frontbenchers must be thinking, we chose our moment well.
Well, look, I mean, first, just with the petition thing, I think it was silly then to sign that petition, and it's silly now. I think both of these, this is not how our democracy works.
Did we do a chat about it? No, everybody just ignored
I think we spoke a lot
petition.
about the e-petition and whether or not we should revoke. But just going to the central question here, would you rather the Tories were in charge? Look, my politics are centre-right. At any given point, I'd rather a government that reflected more what I felt. Certainly, maybe not the Truss bit, and maybe not large parts of the Johnson bit. But my main frustration is the economy. You know, Labour, the long-term stuff, a lot of that was to do with the Tories. The short-term stuff, it was growing at a rate, consumer confidence was high. Now we're seeing things sliding. Inflation is ticking up. Unemployment is ticking up. We saw yesterday that the PMI index, which gives a sign of confidence of business to grow going forward, has dipped below 50. And Labour did a lot of that to set the slate for their budget, which has seemed to have annoyed a lot of people, and they keep claiming it won't make as much money as they originally hoped. We were told that the grown-ups were back in the room, and it just doesn't feel like that.
OK, let's take some callers here. Hang on. John in Surrey, Miles in Lincolnshire. Miles, you go first. Do you think it's time for the Tories to take over?
I certainly do not. After what they left the hospitals in the state they have done, the doctors, the schools are collapsing, the sewage pumping into the rivers, down into the rivers, onto the beaches. So that's a good idea, is it? Bring the Tories back and let's have all that again.
John in Surrey, what do you say to Miles?
I say that they're just making an absolute mess. They lie about everything, and they're hitting the working people like they said they wouldn't, and basically got the whole country against them. As for your young lady on the show, it isn't people on Twitter and foreigners. Get out in the real world. People I speak to voted all three parties, main parties, and they aren't doing it off of Twitter. They're doing it because they're getting punished. And it's all right for her to smile on the TV now, but she probably doesn't have to suffer like a lot of people are doing.
John, I suffered when my mortgage spiralled.
Can I just say something? Can I just say something else, by the way?
OK, she was answering, but go on.
A lot of pensioners still work because they can't afford to be retired, even if they're not fit enough.
Let Jemma come back in, John.
Firstly, John, your tone is really impolite and aggressive. Secondly, actually, I'm not like a massive Labour supporter. I disagree with a lot they're doing. I didn't even vote for them, OK? I agree about the winter fuel allowance. But the idea that there's been a constitutional crisis that warrants an election 4-5 months in is for the birds. And actually, my life has been absolutely changed for the worse by the Tories. I have had my freedom of movement taken away. My stepdad now can't come and retire over here with my mother. My mortgage has gone through the absolute roof. And because of the massive black hole left, we are all scrabbling around and suffering these...
How's that, John?
Well, the black hole doesn't exist.
Yes, it does.
That was only created by the massive pay rises they give to train drivers who are already on a small fortune.
Well, you're cross with train drivers,
are you? So the pensioners are having to pay for that. I'm sorry I was shouting. I'm not swearing.
No, you don't. I'm in charge of politeness here. You were polite enough.
One thing I would say is what we're seeing here is the shallowness of the Labour vote. 9.7 million people voted for them in the election. If you want to compare that, that's less than Corbyn in 2019. 13 million voted for the Tories in 2019. And we've got this weird outcome where they've got so many MPs based on what is fairly thin.
They've got MPs. Yeah, interestingly, they've got rural MPs for the first time who are having a headache with the farmers just piling into their surgeries. Miles, you're listening in Lincolnshire. I know you say you don't want the Conservatives back, but they can't be doing any worse, can they?
Of course they can. Of course they can. Look how they left it. There's beaches you can't walk on or go on because there's storage all over them. Come up north. Don't just live in London. Come up north and have a look around here.
What, Lincolnshire?
Yeah. Come and have a look round. See what our roads are like, with potholes all over.
Yeah.
See what our hospitals are like. Never been rebuilt, never extended, never done anything to them. So don't talk to me about the Tories are great.
If there was a Tory sitting here, Miles, the Tory would say the whole economy crashed in 2008 and it's never recovered. It's never recovered.
Who crashed the economy?
Well, it was under Labour, wasn't it?
Was it, Heck?
The economy has an object. The only time that the economy has objected, people talk about trust, but interest rates went up across the Western world. The only time the economy has objectively crashed in this country was for COVID and the credit crunch. Now, there was a lot that the Tories did wrong, but we were assured that it was sort of like they were kind of deliberately getting wrong. And the one thing maybe Labour have suffered by has been they've been hoisted by their own petard. If they made it seem like governance would be simple, they said that they were going to be quieter in our lives, they wouldn't be governed by dogma, and they just haven't really delivered against their own standards. That's the problem.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Miles.
We have a very right-wing biased press, Telegraph, Sun, Express, you know, right? The Daily Mail. We don't hear about anything good that Labour are doing within the things that I struggle with, like their stance on Palestine. Yeah, because when are we talking about the fact that they're putting $1 billion into the nation's bus network all over the country, sanctions on kleptocrats, fighting deforestation? Within this stuff, they pick up, and then that, what upsets me is that someone like Elon Musk is sort of contributing to our news agenda.
I've been shocked, I must say, by the speed at which the locomotive hit Keir Starmer once he was in office. I've never seen anything like it.
I do think that there's a degree...
I know this winter fuel thing was a big part of it.
Capping children's home profits, limiting the right to buy. They are
capping
doing
children's
so
home profits.
much. But for the privatised companies that are making loads and loads, they want it to be put more into the care of children. What I'm saying is,
it just stop people setting up children's homes.
We are not talking about anything positive.
But wasn't that the case? Isn't that just how the news cycle and social media will treat whoever is in power?
It seems
at
more...
any given
Boris
point.
Johnson is a right old laugh when he was doing things like
But I think you're maybe overestimating the power. Look, how many people read daily newspapers now?
But
social media is far more
Geoff,
important. And social media was wildly against the Tories for a long, long time.
Maybe England is right wing.
It sets the agenda, though. It sets the agenda on all the shows, and it all feeds down.
All right. Listen, more calls after the break. I know it's a bit soon, but people seriously saying it may be that the Tories should be back in charge because Labour's already messed it up. Rachel Reeves yesterday saying, no, we're only doing one budget like that. What do you think? 0207 862 2222. We'll see your calls on Labour and whether or not you'd rather have the Conservatives in charge at Downing Street. 0207 862 2222. If you're Kemi Badenoch, you're thinking, wow, suddenly you can at least imagine winning the next election, whereas William Hague in 1997-98 never could even believe he would, and indeed he didn't. We can speak to David in Powys now. Hi, David.
Hello. Good morning, everyone on the team.
You've signed the petition. Gemma's suspicious that a lot of people who signed it are bots, Russians or Elon Musk.
I said there are
a lot.
I signed it, yes. When I did initially look on the site, it was 1.9 million.
Yep.
Now it's gone above 2.6 million today, so it's gone up 700,000 in 24 hours.
Yeah, but it's a bit like saying everyone hate Labour, join this queue, isn't it? You're always going to you'll probably go up to 20 million, but does it make a difference, David?
Well, yeah, if it's democracy working, if enough people vote, they have to view this in Parliament, don't they? Apparently, if there's more than 10,000 signatures, they have to look at it.
Yeah, they look, but I think they have a debate in Westminster Hall. They don't have it in the Chamber of the Commons, do they?
Yeah, I mean, I've signed quite a few of these petitions over my time. I definitely signed the Revoke the EU one that got to 6.4 million. And, that didn't happen, did it?
Is it, David, why not give them a chance? I mean, they've not even had 6 months yet.
I know, but he seems to have upset so many different groups of people very quickly with the taxes, like taking away the fuel payment to pensioners, which includes me because I'm a pensioner. And then after that came the VAT. Not the VAT hit, the national insurance hit on businesses, and they're all upset about that.
They are. I noticed there was a big conference. Yes, they're very angry. That's a mistake by Labour, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I also agree
can't
that
take people
Labour
on.
have missed lots of opportunities. I agree that they're getting... I'm not like some massive Labour fan. I just think that the Constitution says that the only person that can call an election is Keir Starmer, and he's not going to do it under 4 months.
The petition thing is for the birds, but it's an interesting sort of straw poll of how people feel. And I think one of the things, I didn't vote Labour, I didn't vote Tory for that matter either, by the way. But when they come in, even I was like, yeah, I understood why people were angry with the Tories, understood why they were got rid of. Let's have a bit of optimism. Let's have a bit of hope. But Labour did this thing of sort of talking down the economy, worst inheritance since World War II, because of political objectives. But they robbed the country of what we could have had was just a little bit of hope, even a couple of weeks.
The thing that I genuinely don't get as an impartial observer is why Labour say that they're going for growth and at the same time raising taxes on employers.
Yeah.
Because if you're an employer, you won't employ as many people because people become more expensive. So, exactly. But David, I mean, in the end, they're the government and they're going to have to make their way, aren't they? We've got to let them do it.
Yeah, well, I think time will tell, like you say, may not happen straight away, but if you look at, if you get negative growth because the employers won't employ more people because of all these extra tax burdens, and then you get the same effect because if people haven't got enough money to spend in the economy, that itself will reduce.
Sure. I mean, the argument, though, is that they claim there's the black hole, but there's $2 trillion in debt this country's got, which it will never pay off, and they're trying to raise a bit more money. I just don't know if this is how you do it.
I agree. I don't think it's how you raise the money. I had my idea for that. It's the same as the Greens.
Well, you want to tax like 4 trillionaires or something?
No, I wanted a 1% hit on people with £10 million worth of assets or over once, and Thatcher did that back in the day, and you raised billions, and those people wouldn't notice. I'm sorry.
Maybe don't call it a hit then, because that does sound... we are going a bit...
They're all grown-ups. Like, you've got patriotic
loads of calls.
Country.
Loads of calls. Thank you, David, so much. Malcolm in Kent, hello. Is it time for an election?
No, it's stupid. There won't be nothing come of it anyway. And the petitions they had for getting there for doing a reverse on Brexit was 8 million.
Yeah, Jemma said,
not 6.5, 8 million.
Yeah. Well, but Malcolm, it seems like they've annoyed the VAT private school parents, they've annoyed the farmers, they've annoyed the pensioners, they've now annoyed the employers.
Before the election, Jeremy, they told you before the election that those with the broadest shoulders would take a whack.
But they weren't. Why?
You want a decent hospital service, and you want decent services, and you want decent police force, and you want to see the shoots of the economy growing again, it's all going to cost money.
Right.
But Malcolm,
how come pensioners have got the broadest shoulders
just to come back a little bit, it's a little bit. Broadest soldiers is a subjective, sort of abstract term. There's two kinds of dishonesty in politics. One of which is the kind of Boris thing: you say you do stuff and you're not going to do it, and the other is not telling people things that you're definitely going to do. And I think the British public get a sense now that there were things Labour were planning, and they just didn't tell us in quite a long election campaign.
I think they just do too much of a blunt instrument. The thing about people like Dyson buying 33,000 acres of land to avoid tax is wrong. But obviously what you want to make sure is that the generational farmers aren't hammered. And I think there are fewer farmers are going to be affected than perhaps they think at the moment. I really hope is the case. I'm worried about our food security, but there's a bit of ideology.
Sorry, Malcolm, we cut you out there. What were you saying?
But, God blimey.
Don't worry. Listen, I've got the latest number. Go on.
You've got 2 Tories on there for a start.
We're 2 Tories?
Yeah.
Malcolm, have you met me?
That's so funny. You think
I
Gemma's a
literally
Tory.
said I didn't vote for them.
But that is where we are. Let's just photograph this moment in our minds. That Labour are so unpopular now that Malcolm thinks Jemma is a Tory. That's
never happened before.
That's never happened before.
I'm going to have to go home and have a shower.
Literally, Kemi Badenoch just opened. I'm just saying, thank you, Malcolm. I'm holding now the number of people who've now signed the petition as of now, and we'll let you know if it goes up. But it won't get anywhere.
Malcolm's correct. If you look at a graph, actually, it is the sort of top end that are taking the hit on this. Whether it's right or wrong is arguable, but they are going to invest lots of money, and we do need it.
Derek in Northamptonshire, hi.
Oh, good morning, Jeremy.
Have you signed it?
I haven't personally, but I do know people who have.
You know people who have, right?
Yes.
So they're real people.
Real people.
Yeah. Why do you think? Because this might Labour there's a massive debt. No, I'm not talking about the black hole. I'm just talking about we are spending beyond our means. There's one way to deal with it, which is to borrow more. They don't want to do that. That's Liz Truss. The other way to do it is to grow the economy. That takes too long. The third painful thing to do is to raise taxes, which they've done like that. Now, why has it gone so badly wrong?
Well, I think the concern is that the cost of living generally has gone up so much through taxation of various kinds. Then there's also a fall in GDP. So it would appear that Labour's policies are not really working very successfully. But the main point I would like to make is that the vast majority of people did not vote for Labour. 66% of people did not vote for Labour.
But okay,
they only got about a third of the vote.
Well, they maximised but that's how our system works. It's fair enough. Derek, thank you. Joe in Sheffield, what do you think?
Hello all, good morning. I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at the idea that Gemma's a Tory.
It's like the moment of the week. Yeah, that's the sign of how badly it's going for them. So what do you think, Joe?
I'm sorry. Okay, right.
Quickly.
14 years, what have we had? Liz Truss, okay? Suella Braverman, unpleasant nastiness, right? Priti Patel equates to nastiness, nasty rhetoric, police service cuts, NHS cuts. Why on earth would anyone want to go back to that? But at the same time, I'm a member of the Labour Party. I'm an active member, but I am also clinging on by my fingertips.
Oh, how interesting. Okay, well, let's see. Joe, keep in touch. Thank you. Thanks for all your calls.